When she calls you cold, she's not describing a lack of emotion. She's reacting to the absence of predictability. Most men think connection is built by constant explanation, reassurance, and emotional exposure. They believe that if they just show enough warmth, enough interest, enough availability, they'll be understood and appreciated. But attraction doesn't grow from being fully known too quickly. It grows from curiosity, and curiosity only exists when there is something left undiscovered. Your emotional restraint creates that space. It's not silence for the sake of silence, and it's not indifference. It's the discipline of not handing over every thought, feeling, and intention the moment it appears in your mind. When you don't rush to explain yourself, her mind fills in the gaps. She starts wondering what you're thinking, how you really feel, and why you're not reacting the way other men do. That internal dialogue is powerful because attraction is not built in conversations alone, it's built in the moments when you're not there. Emotional restraint forces her to engage mentally, and mental engagement is far more addictive than constant emotional reassurance. You're not withdrawing to punish her or to play games, you're simply allowing space for her to experience you rather than consume you. Men who overexpress remove mystery without realizing it. They narrate their feelings, clarify every intention, and seek validation at every step. That behavior feels safe, but safety without tension becomes dull. When everything is available and obvious, there is nothing to explore. Your restraint keeps the emotional temperature balanced. You're present, attentive, and grounded, but you're not flooding the connection with explanations. That balance is what confuses her at first. She mistakes composure for coldness because she's used to emotional volatility being framed as passion. The truth is, emotional strength often looks quiet. You don't need to react to every message with urgency. You don't need to defend yourself when misunderstood. You don't need to prove that you care. Your calm presence communicates confidence without words. It signals that you trust yourself and your value enough to let things unfold naturally. That self trust is rare, and rarity creates attraction. She senses that you're not emotionally dependent on her reactions, and that independence shifts how she perceives you. As she encounters this restraint, something subtle happens. Her emotions begin to rise where yours remain steady. She feels more because you feel less outwardly. She invests emotionally because you're not chasing emotional confirmation. What she calls cold is actually the tension between her growing curiosity and your unshaken composure. That tension pulls her in. She wants to understand you, to unlock you, to feel like she earned access to your deeper emotions. This is where craving begins, not because you withhold affection, but because when you do express warmth, it carries weight. Your words matter because you don't waste them. Your attention feels valuable because it's not freely given to anyone who asks. Emotional restraint turns connection into an experience rather than a transaction. She doesn't feel entertained or reassured, she feels engaged. In the end, mystery isn't about hiding who you are, it's about revealing yourself at a pace that allows attraction to breathe. When you master that, her confusion turns into curiosity, or curiosity turns into desire, and what she once labeled as cold becomes the very reason she can't stop thinking about you. When you don't react emotionally, everything shifts. Most men are conditioned to respond immediately when a woman questions them, pulls away, coach, or throws an emotional test their direction. They explain themselves, argue their point, or try to fix the moment by becoming more expressive. What they don't realize is that emotional reactions hand over control. The moment you feel compelled to justify your feelings or chase clarity, you've allowed her emotions to dictate your behavior. You step out of your center and she feels it instantly. Your calm response does the opposite. You don't get defensive. You don't escalate, you don't collapse into reassurance seeking, you stay grounded. That groundedness is not passive, it's powerful. It communicates that you're comfortable with uncertainty and that you don't need emotional approval to feel secure. When she sees that her emotional waves don't knock you off balance, it creates a new dynamic. Suddenly, you're the emotional anchor rather than the emotional mirror. This is where the power shift begins. Power and attraction doesn't come from control or manipulation, it comes from emotional self mastery. When you respond instead of react, you signal maturity and confidence. You show that you can hear her emotions without being consumed by them. That ability is rare, and rarity commands respect. Even if she can't articulate it, she feels safer and more drawn to a man who doesn't unravel under emotional pressure. Many women test emotional stability subconsciously. They may challenge you, question your intentions, or label you as distant just to see how you'll respond. When you react emotionally, you confirm insecurity. When you remain composed, you pass the test without ever knowing it was one. Your lack of reaction forces her to look inward instead of outward. She starts regulating her emotions rather than expecting you to manage them for her. Your calm presence also removes drama from the interaction. Drama thrives on emotional spikes, on quick reactions and heightened responses. When you don't feed it, it dissolves. That absence of chaos creates contrast. She may be used to men who swing emotionally, who chase clarity, or explode defensively. Standing in front of someone who doesn't do that feels different. It feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar energy captures attention. This doesn't mean you're emotionally unavailable or indifferent. You still listen. You still care. but you don't let momentary emotions steer the direction of the connection. You understand that feelings rise and fall, but character remains steady. That steadiness becomes magnetic. She senses that you're not easily shaken and that your emotional state doesn't depend on her mood. That independence deepens respect, and respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. As the dynamic continues, she begins to invest more emotionally. She talks more, she explains herself more, she tries to get a reaction not out of manipulation, but out of curiosity. She wants to feel the impact she's used to having, but instead of pushing you away, this pulls her closer. The less reactive you are, coach, the more emotionally engaged she becomes. Her emotions rise because yours remain level. Over time, she associates your presence with calm and stability. Being around you feels grounding rather than exhausting. That feeling becomes addictive. She may still call you cold because she can't label emotional strength accurately, but beneath that label is admiration. She senses that you're leading emotionally without force, without words, simply by how you carry yourself. In the end, not reacting emotionally isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about choosing not to be ruled by them. And that choice quietly places you in a position of strength she can feel, even if she doesn't fully understand why. Your absence speaks louder than your presence because most men have been conditioned to believe that being seen constantly equals being loved or valued. They think that the more they show up, the more attention they give, the stronger the connection will be. But true attraction doesn't thrive on visibility alone. It thrives on space, on scarcity, on the moments where your presence isn't guaranteed. When you step back and allow yourself to be absent without panic or over explanation, you create a silent magnetic pull that words and actions often fail to achieve. Absence isn't about ignoring or punishing her, it's about showing that your life is full, that your time is valuable, and that your emotional energy isn't disposable. That subtle shift forces her to confront what she truly feels about you. When she notices that you're not chasing, not texting incessantly, not seeking validation, she begins to fill that space with thoughts of you. She replays conversations in her mind, recalls moments of connection, and wonders why you're not reacting like other men. That mental engagement is far more powerful than any text or call because it makes her invest emotionally without you having to do a thing. Absence creates anticipation. Anticipation triggers desire. Desire is born when the mind starts to imagine, interpret, and even idealize the moments she shared with you. The human brain craves what isn't always available, and your absence taps directly into that psychology. It's important to understand that absence amplifies what is already valuable. If your presence is weak or inconsistent in quality, stepping away won't create attraction, it will only confirm indifference. But when your presence has been grounded, confident, and emotionally intelligent, your absence magnifies it. She remembers your composure, your calm confidence, your selective warmth. She realizes that you weren't just another man who validated her constantly. You were someone who stood steady, someone who didn't collapse under pressure. That memory becomes the lens through which your absence is interpreted, and that interpretation fuels craving. Absence also teaches emotional independence. When you're constantly available, she may take it for granted, assuming you'll always be there. Your absence communicates that your life continues with or without her engagement. That autonomy is rare and it's magnetic. It shows that your sense of self worth doesn't depend on her attention, approval, or emotional state. A woman may initially call this cold or distant, but deep down she respects and desires a man who has his own mission and isn't tied to the fluctuations of her mood. Absence becomes a mirror reflecting your value back to her in ways that constant presence cannot. In addition, absence creates emotional contrast. When you return, when you do engage, your attention feels earned, not automatic. That contrast between presence and absence heightens the impact of your interactions. Simple gestures, words, or shared moments carry weight because they are rare, deliberate, and intentional. Contrast is one of the most powerful forces in attraction. Without it, even the most charming man can become ordinary. By stepping back, you create a stage where every interaction becomes meaningful, memorable, and magnetic. She also begins to experience a subtle tension. That tension is not about games. It's about curiosity. She wonders what you're thinking, where you are, what your priorities are, and why you don't react like other men. That mental engagement makes her pursue you in ways that words cannot create. She begins to crave the stability, confidence, and selective warmth that you embody. Your absence becomes the engine of desire, and her mind starts chasing the experience you provide rather than simply the comfort of your attention. Ultimately, absence works because it reveals value without forcing it. It shows that you are complete, grounded, and intentional. By not constantly seeking validation or overinvesting, you give her the space to see you clearly, to engage with your energy, and to develop a craving that is both emotional and psychological. Your absence is not emptiness, it is attraction in action. You give warmth selectively, not constantly, because true attraction is built on value, not availability. Most men believe that the more they show care, affection, and attention, the more a woman will feel connected to them. They think that constant validation equals love or security. The problem with that approach is simple. When everything is available all the time, nothing feels special. Affection becomes expected, and predictability erodes desire. By giving warmth selectively, you create contrast, and contrast is what makes the mind sit up and take notice. When she receives your attention, it lands because it's earned, intentional, and meaningful, not automatic. That difference makes your presence memorable and magnetic. Selective warmth also communicates confidence. It shows that you are not dependent on her emotional reactions for your sense of self. You are secure enough to engage fully when it matters and step back when it doesn't. That security is rare and it signals strength. Women are subconsciously attracted to men who are emotionally grounded, who don't collapse under uncertainty, and who operate from choice rather than obligation. When she feels that you are offering warmth intentionally, it makes her value it more. She starts to notice the effort, the energy, and the thought behind your actions rather than taking them for granted. This approach also creates tension, which is essential for desire. Tension doesn't mean conflict, it means there is a push and pull, a dance between presence and absence, engagement and restraint. When you are always available, the dance disappears. There is no ebby and flow, no rhythm that keeps her emotionally engaged. But when your warmth is deliberate, she has to pay attention. She has to work a little mentally to understand your energy, and she begins to crave it. That craving is not manipulation, it is a natural consequence of scarcity combined with value. Giving warmth selectively also enhances your emotional impact. When you do share affection, humor, support, or attention, it carries weight because it is not diluted by constant repetition. Your words resonate, your actions feel intentional. She experiences you as someone who creates emotional highs rather than emotional noise. That difference is what makes her think about you when you're not around. It's what keeps her invested mentally and emotionally because she begins to associate her moments with you as meaningful rather than routine. Moreover, selective warmth fosters independence on both sides. You maintain your priorities, your mission, and your purpose rather than centering your emotional energy on her reactions. She, in turn, begins to invest emotionally in ways that are authentic and self motivated rather than out of expectation. That kind of mutual engagement deepens respect and strengthens attraction. She begins to chase not just your attention, but the experience of how you make her feel, which is far more powerful than superficial or constant reassurance. Importantly, selective warmth allows you to lead emotionally without forcing it. You create an environment where she feels safe to express herself but does not dictate your emotional state. That polarity, the balance between emotional presence and emotional control, it draws her in because she feels both challenged and valued at the same time. She may mislabel it as cold at first, but what she is really responding to is your ability to operate from strength, intentionality, and self respect. In the end, giving warmth selectively is not about withholding affection or playing games. It's about creating value, contrast, and emotional significance. By choosing when and how to express care, you make every interaction matter. You cultivate desire, and you deepen attraction in a way that constant availability never could. You prioritize your mission, not her approval, because your life is the foundation of your value. Most men make the mistake of shaping their actions, decisions, and emotional energy around how a woman responds to them. They believe that if they can just make her happy, secure, or impressed, she will stay invested. But attraction doesn't grow from neediness or constant approval seeking, it grows from purpose, direction, and independence. When a woman sees that your life is full and moving forward regardless of her reactions, she feels compelled to engage with you on a deeper level. Coach, that sense of self sufficiency is magnetic because it signals that you are not emotionally dependent on her validation, and nothing is more attractive than a man who stands firmly in his own world while allowing her to step into it naturally. Prioritizing your mission also communicates confidence without having to say a word. You don't need to convince her of your worth because you demonstrate it through your actions and consistency. Whether it's your career, fitness, hobbies, social life, or personal growth, you are actively building a life that excites you. That kind of energy is irresistible because it's authentic. It's not created to impress her, but she perceives the energy and is drawn to it. Women crave a man who is self directed, coach, who has ambitions that go beyond the immediate relationship and who can lead himself first. That internal leadership creates external respect, and respect is the root of desire. When you operate from purpose rather than seeking approval, you naturally create emotional polarity. You are the anchor, steady in your intentions, while she experiences freedom to explore her emotions, express herself, and engage with you. That polarity sparks attraction because it stimulates her mind and emotions in a way that constant availability cannot. She feels drawn to your stability, challenged by your independence, and curious about the depth of your focus and drive. By prioritizing your mission, you inadvertently make yourself the standard against which she measures other men, even if she doesn't consciously realize it. Women notice consistency and intentionality. When your focus is on your own growth and direction, your presence becomes meaningful rather than habitual. You are not bending to fit her expectations or constantly seeking reassurance. Instead, you invite her to appreciate the fullness of your world. That invitation creates tension and intrigue, which are essential elements of attraction. She may misinterpret your focus as disinterest at first, but over time she recognizes that your emotional investment is measured and intentional. That realization fosters admiration and even craving because she understands that your attention is valuable and not freely given to anyone. Prioritizing your mission also establishes long term credibility. A man whose life revolves around purpose demonstrates reliability, discipline, and resilience, qualities that are deeply respected and desired. Women are attracted not only to emotional energy, but also to stability and leadership. By showing that you are committed to your path, you communicate that you are capable of handling challenges, making decisions, and leading both yourself and a future partnership. Approval seeking men, by contrast, appear insecure and reactive, which diminishes attraction and often leads to frustration or dependence. Your focus on your mission doesn't mean you are emotionally unavailable. It means you are selective with your attention, intentional with your time, and confident in your value. She feels your presence more deeply because it is earned rather than expected. She begins to engage emotionally not because she has to, but because she wants to be part of your world. That dynamic shifts the relationship from one of need to one of choice. From dependency to desire, ultimately prioritizing your mission over her approval is the essence of masculine attraction. It demonstrates independence, builds respect, and fosters longing. When a woman sees that you are grounded in your purpose, moving toward your goals and not swayed by her moods or opinions, she craves your attention, values your presence, and respects you on a deeper level than words alone could achieve. What she craves most is not constant attention, gifts, or words. It's how you make her feel about herself when she's around you. Most men focus on expressing their emotions, trying to show care or proving their value, but they miss the deeper truth. Women are drawn to the emotional mirror you hold up to them. When you are calm, grounded, and confident, you create an environment where she feels alive, noticed, and desired without you having to chase or over-explain. That feeling is addictive because it bypasses superficial attraction and taps directly into her emotional core. She doesn't just want you for your presence, she wants the way she feels when she interacts with you, seen, challenged, appreciated, and emotionally stimulated. That is what creates true craving. You don't need to perform or manipulate to achieve this. Your mere composure, emotional strength, and selective engagement naturally trigger her feminine energy. When she senses that you are emotionally independent, she begins to step into her own role in the dynamic, expressing curiosity, affection, and desire in ways that are authentic. Your grounded energy allows her to feel safe yet excited, which is a rare combination. Most men either overact and create instability or withdraw completely and create frustration. You strike a balance that makes her emotions rise and fall in a rhythm that keeps her engaged, thinking about you, and ultimately craving your presence. Polarity is the key here. When you operate from masculine energy, being intentional, emotionally controlled, and purpose driven, she experiences contrast. Your steadiness against her emotional fluctuations makes her feel more alive because she is stimulated to think, feel, and invest emotionally. That emotional engagement doesn't require you to say much, it comes from the way you carry yourself, the way you respond selectively, and the way you remain unshaken by her tests or moods. She feels challenged in the best way because she senses depth and authenticity, and the mind is naturally drawn to things that are rare and meaningful. When you give attention, warmth, or affection intentionally, it amplifies her emotional experience. Because you don't give it freely or constantly, she begins to associate your energy with reward, not obligation. Your presence becomes memorable. Every smile, laugh, or moment of intimacy carries weight because it is not taken for granted. She begins to remember the way you made her feel long after you've left, replaying interactions in her mind, longing for more. That feeling of being cherished in the right measure is more powerful than words, gifts, or grand gestures. It creates a deep emotional pull that keeps her engaged and thinking about you constantly. Her craving also grows from the emotional contrast you create. When she feels high energy, attention, or connection from you and then experiences moments of calm distance or composure, her mind begins to chase the experience rather than your physical presence alone. That chase is natural, and it feels satisfying because it is tied to how she feels about herself around you. She associates your energy with a sense of excitement, curiosity, and self worth, and that association becomes addictive. It's not about games, it's about giving her the opportunity to feel alive emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually in your presence. Ultimately, she craves the emotional experience you facilitate, not just the man himself. She wants a sense of being inspired, challenged, and emotionally seen. When you remain grounded, intentional, and independent, you allow her to engage fully with her own feminine energy. That interaction creates polarity, respect, and desire in a way that chasing or overinvesting never could. By understanding that her craving stems from the emotional mirror you provide, you unlock a deeper, more magnetic connection that keeps her drawn to you naturally and consistently.